So today I want to spend some time talking about three things that I personally believe might be hampering people from living happy, fulfilled lives. Three things that I really believe that are the devil's greatest asset in his arsenal of weapons that he launches out against people. And I believe that these three things are the core of the identity crisis people deal with from day to day. As I've always said, I've had the opportunity of interacting with people. I enjoy interacting with people. It's one of my biggest passions. People, just talking with people and getting to know them. And for me, it's easy because people a lot of times are attracted to me as a person. I I have the gift to draw people on a somewhat intimate level. I I have the gift of being trusted by people. Just by my appearance, the way my anatomy is, people trust me. Um, Anti gift. It's not something I particularly had to work towards. It was something that God has gifted me with. And I believe He has gifted me with this because He wants me to better understand people so that I can better help people. And this might just be a little bit of a detour, but what I want to say here is that for someone listening out there today, there's something that God has gifted you with that is natural. You understand? Has gifted you with that thing. It comes naturally to you. You don't need to work for it. You don't even need to particularly educate it to establish it. You might just educate it to refine it, but not to get it. That's your place of passion. That's your place of strength. Operate in that zone, and you see how much impact your life would have if you decide to make it impactful. And how do we make our gift impactful? By turning it outwards, not inwards. So a lot of people, when they find out that gift that they have, they use it for themselves, and that's not the essence of a gift that God has given you. You turn it outwards. You use it to help people, not to help yourself. And when you use it to help people, what you build is human wealth, people wealth. It's the greatest wealth in the world, people wealth. But I guess that's a podcast for another day. But as I said, um, God has given me this gift. Number one, to attract people, and number two, to be interested in people. And I believe it's to help people. And this podcast today is one of those podcasts where I just want to try to help people with my thoughts. And my thoughts for today is just identify those things in your life where the devil might be attacking you. And we are all attacked with one, two, some of us three of these things. But they are very big attacks, especially in the 21st century. How the devil is getting to curtail your life and steal your happiness and rob you of your fulfillment. The first thing, the first weapon of the devil is shame. Now, I just didn't choose shame as number one because the first that came to my mind. I chose shame as number one because it's the biggest. Shame is the biggest weapon of the devil. It's also the oldest. Shame. Shame is a terrible cancer that a lot of people have. In fact, most of us listening, I just don't want to say all of us because that's too absolute, but most of us at some level, at some point in our lives, have dealt with shame. A lot of people listening right now are dealing with shame. Shame is a big hindrance to progress, to courage, to fulfillment, to happiness, and ultimately to identity. Shame. Shame. It's a big one. And the devil has been using it for a long time. I meet so many people, talk to so many people who are suffering from this scourge, at this epidemic of shame sweeping a whole generation. People are ashamed of where they are coming from, and people are ashamed of where they are. So it distorts their view of where they are going, and it creates a somewhat faulty imagination of the future. See, shame only works in two dimensions: the past and the present. It limits you to those two dimensions, because if those two dimensions don't work out, there's no way you can have hope about the future. Oh, there's so many people that deal with shame. Shame. Shame about the circumstances of their birth. I meet so many people that deal with the shame of the circumstances of their birth, about the dynamics of the relationship within their parents, their father and their mother, coming from broken homes. Some people come from abandonment, where they feel, or the father has walked out of the home, the mother abandoned them. They wanted some abandonment. Both parents abandoned them and just left them with their grandparents or something like that. It brings a lot of early shame into people's lives. That shame of where I came from. I was abandoned. I wasn't loved. There was a lot of turmoil, a lot of violence. So a lot of people have this early shame in their lives that they never are able to shake off. It goes with them everywhere. The devil never allows them to forget where they came from, or where they think they came from. You understand? A lot of people don't understand that they were transported by their parents, but were created by God. So they believe that their very origin is from their parents, not from God. So what the devil does is he puts a screen to how far you can trace your identity, and never allows you to see the true source of your identity being God. And when you put your identity in your parents, you're always going to feel shame. If you can never trace back your identity to its origin, you'll feel shame. To its true origin being God, you would feel shame. There was this book which was also turned into a series very early on. I think that was in the 90s. I remember watching it as a little kid. The book was called Roots, by a man, Alex Haley. Alex Haley was a Black American, and who felt a need to trace his roots back to Africa, and was able to do that. And they turned this into a very interesting series. I used to watch that as a kid, and it had massive impact on my life about identity. And he was able to trace his roots back to Africa, to a man called Kinta Kunte. And, in understanding his roots, he was able to gain confidence as a person. Because, living in America at that time, in the early 70s and 60s and stuff like that, it was a shameful thing to be Black. And someone like Alex Haley didn't want to live with that shame, because they always told him his grandfather, his father, they were slaves. So he had that insecurity about being the child of a slave. So he decided to say, okay, how far back can I go? My ancestry cannot be rooted in slavery. That's going to affect my psyche. So he decided to track back to Africa. I can't remember what country he tracked back to exactly, but then he went back to his great ancestor, Kintakunte, and he traced the origins of this man called Kintakunte, who was a very courageous warrior who was taken away from Africa and taken to the US. But if you watch Roots, if you ever have the opportunity, go to YouTube, watch Roots by Alex Haley. Very interesting series. Kintakunte was someone with a very strong heart. They tried to break him. It was so hard. And in understanding that he came from this very strong-willed person, it defined the lineage of everyone that came after him. He was such a strong leader. So for some of you, you're going through shame because you're stopping at your parents. But even unlike Alex Haley, don't stop at the human. Go back to God. And that's why I tell people, if you do not have a relationship with God, your identity will always be messed up. And the devil would have you for a snack. For a snack, not even lunch. For a snack. You understand? You need to know your identity. Once you know your identity, you will do better. You'll think better. You'll act better. Shame is real. And a lot of people are dealing with shame. A lot of people are dealing with shame. I see it every single day. You know, in this era right now, a lot of people are into fitness. Fitness in terms of exercise regiments and food regiments, eating better, exercising more. I mean, if you go to Lagos and you go out around 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5:36, between 5:30 and 7 o'clock, you see a lot of people exercising, jogging. Even in Abuja here, go out very early in the morning, see people in their neon colored tops or tights, jogging, young people, involved in exercising. You see young men involved in bodybuilding. And it's good. I think it's very important for us to take care of our bodies, to do exercises, but then to eat well. Very important. But then what concerns me a lot is what is the seed of this need to exercise. And what you realize a lot of times is that it comes from a place of shame. A lot of people feel shame on their inside and they try to cover it up with an exterior. They're like, if my inside is ugly, let me at least make my exterior attractive. If my inside is weak, I see this with a lot of guys pumping iron and stuff like that. My inside is weak. Let me at least look like a strong outer shell. It's good. It's good to bodybuild. It's good to, have a great body. But then if you're using it as a cover up to the shame you feel on the inside, it won't work. A lot of people feel shame. A lot of people feel shame. A lot of people feel shame about the way they look. They feel shame about their body. And that's why a lot of people are stuck in exercising, diets, and stuff like that. As I said, these things are good. But if it comes from a spiritual shame, so the devil has clouded you from seeing your beauty. When you look at the mirror every morning, you feel shame. The devil's got you. It's not going to be solved by what you do on the outside. You need to solve that spiritual problem first. I dealt with that problem early on in my life. As a teenager, I had shame about my body. I had shame about my face, my skin. I had acne and I was so ashamed of it. So I tried to change my eating. I spent a lot of money on, products for my face, regimens and stuff like that. But the truth about shame is if you do not see it spiritually, you will never see progress physically. So no matter how much I try to do with my regiment, my face cleansing regiment, I never saw enough progress. I was always thrown up by the one zit or pimple that would appear. And I would hide myself. Sometimes I wouldn't go out. Sometimes, the one zit just seemed bigger than I thought. But then it came from an internal shame. And until I started seeing my identity in God and seeing myself as the Son of God, and God showed me what was special about me, the gifts I had, I stopped using all those regiments, all those products that I spend money on, facial cleanser, all those things. I just stopped. I didn't even know when I stopped. I just stopped. And I started using normal soap. And my face cleared. It cleared on its own. Just cleared. Cleared. You see, so one thing I want to tell someone out there is that, you see, it's not the external fix, it's not the physical effort that takes away shame. Shame is a spiritual thing. Until you go to God and say, God, let me feel your embrace. Let me see my identity in you. The devil still got you. You understand? People must understand that shame is a demon. It's a spirit. You understand? Spirits are not affected by physical activity. Affected by spiritual activities. Only a spiritual word will send the demon away. My identity was fixed about how I felt when I knew my spiritual roots. And I fed on spiritual material. So, spirituality is so important. People minimize it, but so important. A big reason why people have shame is because of their associations. How the devil sends shame into your life is by the things you surround yourself with and the people you surround yourself with. A lot of you are struggling with shame because you've not taken time to really look at your associations. And there's some associations that you ought to distance yourself from, that you've not allowed yourself to. You would always feel shame if people don't allow you forget your past. And you surround yourself with people that are so small-minded that all they see is the present. That's where shame comes from. People that always refer you to your past. Who do you think you are? It's not you that your parents are. This is not you. It's not you that failed in school when we were in primary school. You have some people like that in your life. You have some friends in your life. Be always, and they're saying it as a joke, but every time they refer to a joke about an embarrassing time in your life, that just, but they say they're your friends, but just a joke. I can't joke with you, but they never let that time go. They always remind you of that embarrassing time, that time when you failed. They always remind you of that terrible heartbreak that you experienced. Do you understand? They always remind you of something in your past. Shame. They keep shame alive. And then you have people that always tell you about where you are presently and how inaccurate or inadequate what you have in the present is. I realize that the present is one of the biggest distortions of the future. And what I mean is, what you're doing in the present, we always look down at it. It's when you go into the future and you look back at what you were doing, when the present now becomes the past. A lot of times you realize how incredible you were doing in that past that was the present then. So what I mean is, sometimes, like right now in the present, I might feel like I am fat. And just say, oh man, Tola, why are you so fat? And some people they deal with that weight problem. Why am I so fat? I'm so fat. So when I look in the mirror, I see a fat person in the present. And I surround myself with people that say, this guy, you're too fat. Why? Why are you so fat? You know, that kind of thing. And then 10 years' time, I see a picture of me right now. So that present has now become the past in 10 years' time. And I look at it and I say, man, I wasn't so fat. Why did I think I was so fat then? Because a lot of times I might look at myself that 10 years' time and I'm even maybe 10 pounds heavier. And I look at that photo and like, if I was this weight that I was 10 years ago, I would have been happier than where I am now. That's what I mean about that present. The present is always a distortion of reality. How about you look at yourself and a lot of those pictures, when I look at my photos of my teenage years, when I thought I had a lot of zits and pimple, when I look at photos, I'm like, it wasn't that bad. How was I blindfolded from the reality? You understand? Because in the present, I had people that magnified it. So your association, check your association. If you're dealing with shame, check your association. It means you have the wrong people in your life. So someone dealing with shame right now, I want you to take some time to really think about people that help to foster shame, that keep reminding you of where you're from and keep reminding you, and reminding you for where you're from, stopping at a human character, stopping at a flawed place, not at a place that gives you strength. That's what I mean. You need to have the courage to let those people go. You need to. You need to also look at the people that also magnify what you might see as limitations of now, telling you are not enough. Those people making you feel shame about your body, about your finances now, making you feel shame about the stage of your business now. They're always telling you about the now, about I'm not good enough now, not good enough. Check out what this person is doing now. Check out what your mates are doing now. Limiting your own journey and making you see, distorting, you understand, the now, and by so corrupting the future. You need to let them go. You need to let them go. So shame is a symptom of wrong associations. It actually is a symptom of wrong associations that keep you in the past and distort the present. Spent a lot of time on shame, such a big subject matter, and I can go on and on. But I have two more things to get to. Second thing that the devil throws at us that distorts our life, steals our happiness, hampers our fulfillment, and destroys our sense of identity is distractions. Distraction. Big arsenal in 21st century, and it's only going to get worse. If shame stop you from seeing God, distractions make you ignore God. Distraction makes God fall down your priority list. So if God was number one, distraction just steals that number one position and just pushes God to number 10. It makes you feel there are other things that have to get done before what is really important. Or distraction is a big, big problem, a big challenge in today's age, and it's only going to get worse. Or distraction. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to do something, maybe read my Bible or just have, some time of quiet, and then I'm distracted by a buzz on my phone. I'm distracted by, something I scrolled to see, and then I realized that what I wanted to do, which was going to be a strong spiritual activity, I've pushed it down to something I don't do at all that day again. In fact, I don't remember I wanted to do it. I totally forget what I set out to do. Distraction. A lot of us are dealing with distraction. There are too many distractions in our lives. And you see, distraction itself is a symptom. It's a symptom of not having a focus or an assignment in our lives. Distraction. It's a symptom of not having a focus or assignment for our lives. It's a symptom of not having a passion. You see, a lot of people don't understand why it's important for us to have passions. This word passion has been minimized. And if you listen to my podcast a lot, I talk about passion. One of the greatest forces in the world is passion. The person who doesn't have passion would always be a victim of distraction. A lot of people have tried to overcome distractions through self-will. Just say, today I won't do this. Tomorrow I won't spend so much time on this platform. They keep talking about I won't. But you would. You might do it for a day. You might not do it for a day. You might not do it for 1 month. But you go back. You would always revert back to a distracted life if you have no passion. Because you know what passions do? Passions give your life a center. Passion give your life a center. That's what passions do. A lot of people are distracted by things on the periphery because there's nothing in the center. If you're dealing with distraction, it means that you have no passion. A lot of times, passion comes from having a place of assignment. Passions are not just interests. They're not the things you love to do. Passions are the things you are willing to die for. Not particularly the things you are willing to live for. The things you believe in so much you are willing to die for them. And those things can only be revealed to you by God. So again, I'm going to say this if you are listening to this and you're one of those people that says, God, this God thing, we make too much of a force on this God thing. What God? I'll come to that. But then without God, it can't work. God is the one that gives you your assignment. I'm not talking about your job. Not a job. I'm talking about an assignment. A job is a living. That's why they call it making a living. So you go to your place of living. That's what you do for a living. Passion is a dying. It's I'm ready to die for this thing. A job gives you a source of living. A passion gives you something you're willing to die for. There are two different energies. And it's only spiritually that you can find your assignment. You see, for me, I went through this journey. For people that know my journey, I keep saying it, I was active as a designer. I went through that. I found what I wanted to live for in art. I'm incredibly talented as an artist, as a creative. I am. So I found the path for making a living. I found it. I did design for many years, 2 decades. Design. I still think like a designer. Still makes me happy doing design. Still see the world through the eyes of a creative. I still design for personal purposes. I still speak to designers and advise them about a career in design. But you see, with design, I found my talent. And in doing that, I was able to make a living. But then, about three 3 years ago, I got my calling. 4 years ago now. 2020. Calling. And I realized that I was called to give people hope and a sense of direction when they feel discouraged and disillusioned. To help people find their identity. Interestingly, as a designer, I was working as an identity designer, helping corporations find their identity. So I guess God used them all symbiotically. But then you know how Jesus called Peter and said, "You're not going to be catching fish anymore. You're going to be catching men." So the way you strategize to catch fish, you're going to put that same strategy in catching men. So Peter had a gift for fishing. God turned it into an assignment for preaching. The same thing with me. I had a gift with identity. And I could go into work with a startup that was confused and their identity was jumbled up, and I could clarify things with them easily and make things crystal clear, and they could see their identity and then turn it into a logo. That's why I was excellent as a logo designer. I could just go in there and just see it. But then God said, okay, enough of using it to make a living. Now you're going to do this for men. For humans. They're going to help people find their identity. The same thing you're doing in logo design, I'm going to do with people. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to clarify things. They're going to develop an identity for which they're going to stand out in the world. And when God called me to this assignment, the energy was different from doing logo design. Energy was different. See, with logo design, I got to a place where I was like, if you don't pay me, I'm not doing this logo design. I was so much about this is how I feed my family. This is how I send my children to school. This is how I meet my needs. But when it became an assignment, it became a Tola, you are going to die one day, but you can't die with all this information on your inside. People need it. And that's why I pour out because I'm so conscious about leaving the earth one day. I'm so conscious about it. I'm more conscious about death than I am about life. That's the truth. And I always think to myself, Tola, if tonight was the night, have you poured out all that is on your heart? That's why when people listen to my podcast, it's hard for people to catch up because I'm pouring out every single time. Every single time. You find it very hard to catch up with my podcast. I'm not one of those podcasters that does it every week, every month. No. I do it every day. Every day. I just try to hold myself back from publishing podcasts on weekends so that people can actually try to catch up. But it's always something. I can do it 5 times a day. Because for me, I see the time ticking. I'm like, I need to get it out there. It needs to get out. And that's the reality. That's what an assignment does. A lot of us need to hear that clock ticking. When you hear the clock ticking, distractions cannot have you. Distractions function because a lot of us don't hear that clock ticking. So we think we have all the time in the world. Distraction is not something you get rid of by having discipline and just saying, tomorrow I'll get this done. No. You need to hear that ticking. When you know you are going one day, you won't waste your time. I can guarantee most of you, if a doctor told you you had just 1 week to live, your distractions will fall off automatically. Your distractions will fall off automatically. You don't even need to discipline yourself. You just become clear about what you need to do, how you need to do it, what you need to say, how you need to say it. A lot of you will live more effective lives if you had a deadline on your life? So if you're distracted, you're dealing with distraction. You always say, oh man, these social media apps, they get too much of my time. YouTube takes too much, I spend too much time on Instagram. Because you have no center. You have no center because you have no relationship with God. You have no relationship with God, so you have no assignment. Distractions. The third thing the devil sends to us. Very powerful weapon. And until you do your assignment, you can never be happy. Never be happy until you do your assignment. You can never be truly happy. In fact, these three things are so linked. I'll come to the third thing, very important. But distraction is so linked to shame. Once you start doing your assignment, you find your identity. Automatically, you become happy with who you are. You know why you were made. You know your purpose, you know your function. Shame goes out the door. A lot of us don't have assignments, so we don't have centers in our lives. Once you have an assignment, you cut out all the distractions. You cut out all the distractions. You see, there's a story. I'll go on a little bit of a detour here of an American rap artist called Tupac Shakur. Some of you might know Tupac. I don't know how much into the future people are listening to this, but there was someone called Tupac. And was a very popular American rapper. He died when he was, I think, 24. But you see, for a very long time, people refused to believe that Tupac was dead. Because they kept on getting songs released by him 5 years after his death, 10 years after his death, 20 years after his death. There was always a Tupac song out there that nobody had heard before. But there's a story people don't understand, that is the story to Tupac. Tupac went to jail and was bailed out of jail by a man called Suge Knight. Now, Suge Knight bailed him out of jail on one condition. He told him, if I'm bailing you out, you're going to join my record company. And if you're going to join my record company, you're going to have to release an album. I think he gave him a number of albums. I can't remember what the number of albums were. Before you can ever leave this record company. Before you can ever leave this record company, you have to release these albums before you get your independence. And Tupac, desperate to get out of jail, signed the deal. It was said that the moment he left jail, he went straight to the studio. The moment he left jail, from jail to the studio. Didn't go home. Say a lot of people go home to rest or to party. Said he went straight to the studio. Because immediately he had that conversation with Suge Knight, he started writing songs in his head. And he went straight to the studio, and he was in the studio for months. And in a couple of months, he came out with an album called All Eyes on Me. And at that time, it was one of the few albums. We're still using CDs then. It was a 2 CD album. That's how many songs he had. He had to come out with 2 CDs, and there were still more to come out with, because he knew what his assignment was. He knew he would never leave that record company if he didn't get the job done. So he couldn't afford to party. He couldn't afford to party or go on vacation. He came out of jail running because he heard the clock ticking. Some of you need to find your assignment. And you can only find your assignment in God, a relationship with God. When you have a relationship with God, God will make you know what your assignment is. When you find your assignment, you start running. And distractions will fall away. But it's only in God. Which brings me to my third thing. That third weapon that the devil uses. in the 21st century. This is a new shiny weapon. Because you know what? Pride. Um, Pride is the third thing. I didn't want to say it now, but you know, shame is old. It's old, but very, very effective. But it's old, but it still works. So the devil is not even updating it. It's just perfect. Why change it? Distraction is pretty new. In the world right now, distraction started to gain ground in the 1990s with the advent of the internet. Oh man, but it's getting stronger and stronger right now. Pride is the newest one. People might say, pride is that old. No, not the kind of pride I'm about to talk about. No, not that one. That one is old, but it's okay. This one I'm talking about is the updated version of pride that is so new. It's like shiny. I see it every day. So new. And the downfall of a lot of people, it will be the downfall of a lot of people. Pride. You see, distraction. Let me even start from shame. Shame makes you not see God. They will put a screen between you and God so you can never trace your origin back to God. You trace it back to a faulty origin. So you are ashamed. Distraction makes you ignore God. So God keeps falling down on your list of priority. You ignore God, you put other things before God. You understand? So God is no longer the center of your life. But pride makes you think you are God. Pride tells you, what God? You are God. Pride. We are living in an age of pride. That's why in today's age, one of the most ubiquitous things are podcasts. It's funny I'm saying this on a podcast, but it's truth. Oh, so many podcasts, so many voices, so many ideas, so many concepts, so many speakers, so many intellectuals, so many books, so many papers, so many movements. Everybody is a god to themselves. Every time I go on social media, I hear someone telling me one fact that I never knew. Something that distorts what you've always known. You've always heard that water is good for you. Someone will tell you water is not so good for you. You hear someone tell you, always heard, okay, eat fruits after eating. No, that's dangerous. It could cause you cancer. Eat fruits before eating normal food. All manner of things. You hear someone saying, parenting, step back from your children. Let them parent themselves, or else they'll have a weak identity. Yeah, people tell you, don't hug your children. Yeah, another person, you hug your children every day. Everybody coming up with their own commandments. Intellectualism is at its very peak. Everybody is an intellectual. Everybody is a philosopher. Everybody is a psychologist. Every single person. Everybody. I went out somewhere and I was talking, and I was sitting next to this guy, and we were watching TV, and this guy was so critical about everything. Critical. He wasn't even allowing me to focus on the show. And he said, maybe it's because I'm such a philosopher that I see through all these things right now. And it stunned me because that week, that was the third person telling me he was a philosopher. Everybody's writing a book. Everybody has a book. The information knowledge era is one of immense pride. people have different distortions of the Bible. Different distortions. People are expunging what they want from the Bible and saying, God cannot be saying this, so I don't read that part of the Bible anymore. I take it out. That's not a truth for me. I choose to stand on this. Intellectualism. A big problem, intellectualism. Everybody has a strong opinion. So now, when people disagree with you, it's funny. People don't disagree anymore. People strongly disagree. I get that so much. And I share an opinion. People don't say, well, I don't see it that way. People comment, I strongly disagree. Everything is strong when it comes to knowledge now. Strong opinions. And they see something on the internet they don't like, bam. Strong opinions on opposing what one person has said. Strongly disagreeing. Because people have become proud. They become their own gods. People have become their own gods. That is a modern day problem. It's a modern day problem. People don't believe in God anymore. They believe they are their own God. Why believe in God when I have a brain? Why be led by a book that was written 2,000 years ago when I have an updated brain? Big problem with pride. People have no truths in their life anymore till you can convince them. That's a big problem. That you're only convinced something is a truth when you can be proven to you. That is a big problem. Some people will never understand what I'm saying. Say, how can I accept that as the truth if it's not proven to me? That mentality is a prideful mentality. Prideful mentality. I'll tell you what it means. My father is my father. Number one, because he says he's my father. From the day I was born, he said he was my father. My mother says she's my mother. I don't question it. I've never asked them for a paternity test to prove they're my parents. Never. Never asked them for it. So it's a rugged truth. It's a rugged truth in my life. I believe it first before it is falsified or proven to be wrong. It's a rugged truth. What proof do I have that my father is my father? He said it. That's the proof. So I carry his name. Rugged truth. A lot of people are living in a world right now where everything must be proven. So they have no rugged truths in their lives. And so they become proud. It's only a truth when you define it and you prove beyond reasonable doubt. I can only agree with you if I agree with you 100%. Intellectualism. And so they have very few things that they believe 100%. So they have no truths in their life. That's pride. You become God in your life. So when you read the Bible, you don't approach it as a book with truth. Even when you don't understand it, it's the truth. The onus is now on you to say, why don't I understand this truth? But a lot of people want to be convinced about how the practicality first before they believe it. That's why a lot of people are shallow spiritually, because they have no rugged truths in their lives. So when they read about the parting of the Red Sea, they're like, how is it possible? That's a lie. Not possible. They read about Jesus, how? Convince me that Jesus lived. Convince me. I've never been there before. Have you ever seen him? I don't believe he existed. Happens with every religion, every faith. Some people say, Muhammad never existed. Prove to me that he existed. Prove to me. They want 100% proof. They're proud. You see, when you read the Bible, Jesus dealt with some people. They're called Pharisees. But they were always asking Jesus for proof. Jesus was highly irritated by them. They prove to us. Prove to us. And he never did anything for them. They never enjoyed any of his grace because they were proud in their heart. They had no rugged truth. Because the rugged truth told them the Messiah was going to come. But in their mind, they were always skeptical. Prove to us, prove to us. That's why till today, they don't believe. Pride. I've met so many people that have become intellectually proud. Intellectually proud. And that's why they've fallen prey to articulate people. They've fallen prey to articulate people. Articulate radical people. Articulate religious people. Articulate emotional people. So a lot of people are falling prey to radicality. Because a lot of these people that have radical movements are very articulate. Articulate religious people. A lot of people have gone to religious organizations, faiths that are distorted because there's a man or a woman that can twist words and talk you under the table. Articulate emotional people or romantic people. Let me put it that way. So you have radical people, religious people, and articulately romantic people. A lot of people have started relationships with people that don't truly love them, but they have silver tongues. They talk you under the table, but you're not meant to be with them. But because you are such a proud person that must always be convinced with words, you have no spiritual leadings that tells you this is a truth. I hold on to this spiritual truth, not the auditory jargons. You have no spiritual foundations that tells you, even though I don't understand it, because it's coming from this person, I accept it. Look, for a very long time, I didn't see the resemblance between me and my dad. I didn't see the resemblance between him. He's dark and fair complexion. You understand? I didn't see the resemblance. As a young man, I accepted it was my dad because he told me that. Rugged. But you see, as I get older, I begin to see it. And I'm like, wow, this guy is my dad, man. We took a photo together one day and I was like, whoa, this is my dad. That story. This is my dad. There's some truths that you have to accept, but they will become clearer as you get older. But some people want you to be clearer while they are still infants. Clearer while they're still infants. When I look at my daughter, when she was first born, first few years, she didn't look like my wife at all. They didn't look alike at all. Not to me. People never said it. But now that she's 12 years old, people say it a lot. You look like your mom, you look like your mom, you look like your mom, you look like your mom. People say she looked like me when she was younger. Imagine if my daughter, am I sure this is my mom? Am I sure they didn't go and adopt me from somewhere? But now the validation is coming. Pride is that thing that wants to know everything, all the answers now. Pride is a big problem in today's age. A lot of people are prideful, so there's no space for God. They are the God. They are the gods in their own life. Belief systems, warped belief systems all around. Just believe. I believe I'm doing things this way, then I'll do it that way. This is what I believe because I'm so intellectual. You've read so much, seen so much, traveled so much. So they believe that they are wiser than every other person in their life. So they look down at older people. Where have you gone? Mom, you've not gone anywhere. Have you traveled out of the village before? Do you know where I've gone to? Some of you look down on your parents who could guide you in terms of your identity, but you look down on them. This poor woman, this poor man went to primary school, didn't go beyond secondary school. I'm traveled. I have 2 masters and a PhD. Sit down, let me school you. Intellectually proud. Look down on them because they're not social media savvy. They're not internet savvy. Mom, you don't know anything. Sit down. You don't know how we're doing it now these days. Pride. Pride. Stopping you from learning. Learning. So you're not growing. Pride. Pride is a symptom that your world is too small. Pride is a symptom that your world is too small. Shame is a symptom that there are people in your world that shouldn't be there. Distraction is a symptom that you have no center and no assignment. Pride is a symptom that your world is too small. You don't go out enough. You don't interact enough. That's what pride means. Your world is too small. Your world is too small. So you look down on every single person. People are living more of a reclusive life today. Reclusive. They don't interact anymore. So one of the things I encourage people that I mentor is go out and meet people some more. Go out and have more conversations. Make time for your siblings, make time for your parents, talk with them. A lot of people live in their rooms a lot, live in their houses, their 1-bedroom apartments or 2-bedroom, depending on how financially buoyant they are. The more financial capacity people have, the more they withdraw from society, the more they withdraw from people. So you have a lot of young people, financially capable. So they have their house, they have their TV, their Netflix, they have this, everything is there, internet is there, you have everything. You don't go out, you're just indoors. Nobody disturbs you. You order your food comes to you. You know, that's just very quiet life. Before you know, you become very prideful because you become the god of your life. You don't learn from anyone anymore. Your ideologies become so magnified in your own mind. Then the devil has got you with pride. Before you know it, you start writing your new ideas about distorting stuff. Then go to church is a problem. Like, why do I need to go to church when I can watch this preacher on my laptop, on my phone? Why do I need to go and interact and mix with people that will just upset me? People now become an irritation to you. You become prideful. Those are the 3 things that I believe are distorting people's lives today. Shame, distractions, and pride. I hope someone listens to this today and you're able to identify those things in your life and see what you need to get rid of. Whether you need to get rid of association that keeps you stuck in the past and distorts the present. Whether you need to really have an intimate relationship with God so that you can know the assignment He has for you. You have an assignment, so you can start hearing that clock ticking. Maybe you need to make your world a little bigger and begin to understand that you don't know all things and begin to have rugged truths in your life. Stop asking for so much proof because it's just making you dumber. You think you're getting wiser, but you aren't. Some rugged truths are there. You don't need to know the answers now. Accept them as truth. And as you walk in them, you begin to get a clearer understanding of them. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and you've been listening to my podcast, ProUp Masterclass.